Hello everyone, welcome to History and Culture. Puyi was the last emperor of China's feudal society. His life was full of drama. He married 5 wives. But unfortunately, none of them bore him any children. In his later years, Shuxian became his final wife. Although they were married, there were many little-known details about their life together. For example, they slept in separate beds after marriage, which seemed to symbolize the distance and coldness in their relationship. Even more unexpectedly, just 1 week after their marriage, Puyi was discovered by his wife in the hospital secretly receiving hormone injections. This raised doubts about whether their marriage could truly be happy. What was behind these hormone injections? Could they reveal some complex factors in the relationship between Puyi and Shuxian? According to historical records, Puyi was brought into the Forbidden City at the age of 3 and became the emperor of the Qing dynasty. Due to his young age and the absence of his parents, he could only live with the palace maids and eunuchs. It is said that in order to prevent the young emperor from crying, the maids and eunuchs tried various methods, but these practices caused him significant physical harm. After the Xinhai Revolution, although Puyi lost the throne, he continued to live in the Forbidden City, maintaining an imperial lifestyle. With the help of some Qing dynasty veterans, he married 2 wives, Empress Wanrong and consort Wenxiu. Thus, the 3 of them lived together in the Forbidden City. It wasn't until 1924 that Puyi was expelled from Beijing and began his life in exile. During his time wandering, Wenxiu requested a divorce. One of the main reasons being that Puyi could not satisfy her needs in their normal married life. After the divorce, only Empress Wanrong remained by Puyi's side. However, she had an affair with a guard, and rumors spread that she had a child. Upon learning this, Puyi became furious and ordered the child to be thrown into a furnace. Wanrong, feeling depressed, developed an opium addiction and eventually died of illness, ending in a tragic fate. Soon after, Puyi married 2 more wives. One was Li Yuqin, but Puyi treated her coldly, and they had no emotional connection. The other was Tan Yuling, whom Puyi chose at the age of 17 and made her his concubine. Unfortunately, Tan Yuling passed away from typhoid fever 5 years later. Puyi carried her photo with him for years, mourning her loss. In 1959, Puyi was released from prison under a government amnesty. 3 years later, he married his 5th wife, Shuxian. According to historical records, Shuxian was born in 1924 in Hangzhou, Zhejiang, and was a true beauty from the Jiangnan region. She had fair skin and was not very tall, embodying the delicate and graceful traits of a typical Jiangnan woman. However, her childhood was not happy. At the age of 10, her mother passed away from illness, and soon after, her father remarried, bringing a new stepmother into their home. The arrival of her stepmother made Shuxian's life increasingly difficult, and each day became harder to endure. At the age of 16, Shuxian's father suddenly passed away, leaving her with only her stepmother. For her own benefit, the stepmother forced Shuxian to marry a policeman from Beijing. Unfortunately, this marriage did not bring happiness. In 1955, the policeman was arrested and executed by the government for his criminal activities. 2 years later, Shuxian remarried, this time to a man who worked at a bank. However, this marriage was not harmonious. The couple frequently quarreled, and eventually, in October 1960, they divorced. After 2 failed relationships, Shuxian finally came to understand many things. She decided not to invest all her energy into marriage anymore and instead focused on studying cultural knowledge to improve herself. In 1962, through the introduction of her friend Zheng, who was an editor at the People's Publishing House at the time, Shuxian met and married Puyi, who had been granted amnesty. Not long after their marriage, Shuxian noticed that Puyi had some very strange habits. He often stayed up late at night, reading books under a 100-watt light until 2 or 3 in the morning. Sometimes, when Shuxian had already fallen asleep, she would suddenly wake up to find Puyi wearing glasses, staring intently at her face. When she looked at the time, it would already be past 3 a.m. Moreover, he never touched her physically. Instead, he would get close to her, inhaling the scent of her hair and neck until he startled her awake. Each time this happened, Shuxian couldn't help but ask, "What are you doing? Why aren't you sleeping?" Puyi would just smile and turn back to his book. Shuxian, having been married before, knew what married life should be like. Though she had doubts, she felt uncomfortable asking directly about it. As a result, their special life continued for a week. One morning, Puyi suddenly told Shuxian that he needed to go to the hospital. They went together to the People's Hospital. To Shuxian's surprise, Puyi didn't go for a consultation. Instead, he walked straight into the injection room. When Shuxian entered, she found Puyi receiving hormone injections. Having once worked as a nurse, Shuxian immediately understood what was going on, and the truth was revealed. She was furious and ran home, crying in despair. Not long after, Puyi came home, his head hung low. The atmosphere was silent for a while, and finally, Shuxian couldn't hold back and sternly asked, "Why are you taking these injections?" Puyi's face turned pale and grim. He helplessly explained, "I'm sorry for you. I don't like many women, but I really like you. This is something I had to hide from you." At this point, Puyi suddenly knelt down, tears streaming down his face. "If you want to divorce me, I won't live. You can ask for any condition. I don't want you to suffer for the rest of your life. You're still young, and if you want to make friends, I won't stop you. Anyway, I can't bring you happiness." At first, Shuxian said nothing, but in the end, her heart softened. She helped Puyi up and said, "Since it's already like this, then let it be." Seeing Puyi's pitiful state, Shuxian couldn't help but shed tears as well. Later, Puyi won Shuxian's heart with his sincerity. In the summer of 1963, Beijing experienced heavy rain, and public transportation was disrupted. After work, Puyi hurriedly grabbed an umbrella and, braving the rain, walked to Shuxian's workplace to pick her up. He waited for a long time, but Shuxian still didn't show up, so he began to walk back. Suddenly, he noticed an uncovered drainage hole on the road. And worried that his wife might step into it, he stood there and waited until Shuxian appeared, and then they left together. By then, Puyi was completely drenched in rainwater. Seeing Puyi's gesture deeply moved Shuxian. From then on, their relationship grew stronger. And they became so dependent on each other that they could hardly bear to be apart. In 1964, Puyi's health began to deteriorate. After a medical examination, he was diagnosed with kidney cancer and had to have his left kidney removed. During his hospitalization, Shuxian also experienced health problems. Tests revealed that she had uterine fibroids. Holding Shuxian, Puyi tearfully said, "I am so afraid you might get this terrible cancer too." Seeing Puyi growing weaker after losing a kidney, Shuxian began seeking treatment options. She visited doctors multiple times, hoping to find ways to help Puyi recover his health. The doctors suggested considering a kidney transplant. At that time, Shuxian volunteered to donate one of her kidneys to Puyi, but he refused. In December 1965, Puyi was hospitalized again. While in the hospital, he needed to take traditional Chinese medicine. Shuxian was concerned that the hospital might not prepare the medicine carefully enough. So she brought the herbs home, prepared the medicine herself, and delivered it back to the hospital every day. She busied herself running back and forth to care for Puyi. After Puyi showed slight improvement, Shuxian brought him home. To help him recover more quickly, she raised more than 20 chickens at home. cooking chicken soup for him every day to nourish his body. During that time, Puyi became fascinated with watching ants in the yard. He would often squat there, observing the ants busily crawling around, sometimes even sprinkling flour to feed them. Later, on October 17, 1967, Puyi passed away due to illness at the age of 62. After his death, Li Shuxian wanted to buy him a larger urn, but due to financial constraints, she ended up buying a smaller one for 5 yuan. After Puyi's burial, Li Shuxian, to make traveling easier, bought a monthly bus pass. Every morning, she would take her lunch with her, go to Babayashan, take Puyi's urn, and spend almost the whole day with it, returning the urn in the late afternoon, around 3 or 4 o'clock. In 1994, Mr. Zhang Shi, who was living overseas, established the Hualong Royal Cemetery in the northwest of Yixian, Chongling. To increase the cemetery's notoriety, Zhang Shi made many efforts to persuade Li Shuxian to relocate Puyi's ashes to the western tombs. On January 26, 1995, Li Shuxian personally held Puyi's urn and participated in the burial ceremony. The ceremony was simple yet solemn. The urn was placed inside a cement coffin, and after the lid was sealed and concrete poured over it, the urn was permanently laid to rest there. Thus, the last emperor of China's feudal society was finally laid to rest in the western tombs. Li Shuxian once commented on Puyi, saying, "Puyi was once an emperor, while I was just an ordinary nurse. But we truly loved each other. Whether it was in the place where Puyi worked or the hospital where I worked, everyone knew how good Puyi was to me." On June 9, 1997, 72-year-old Li Shuxian passed away from lung cancer, ending her tumultuous yet sincere life journey. This is the History and Culture channel. Liking and subscribing are the greatest help and support to us. Thank you everyone and see you in the next time.